Today, let's help you get more comfortable with the Queen Charge Hybrid at Town Hall 12 with the basics, the advanced tips, and base reading. So first, let's go through the standard Queen Charge Hybrid. You do not need super troops with this. You can bring regular wall breakers and regular goblins, but you can of course also have a lower level Grand Warden. So if your Grand Warden is around 25, 30, you'll be fine. But for the most part, your main priority should always be the enemy CC and the Town Hall. In this case, they are very much separated, making this a very difficult call. What do you Queen Charge into? Well, if the CC is lurable, that is something that you have to keep in mind. So then charging in for the Town Hall is a good idea. So starting the funnel by creating it by using the Baby Dragon, or you can bring Sneaky Goblins if you want to boost Super Troops, gives you that opportunity. Now, in terms of dealing with a very lurable CC, you can easily deal with one by just going ahead and using a poison spell. By luring out with a Hog Rider or a Giant, a Super Dragon type of CC is not usually something to deal with too much. I mean, overall, you just gotta drop a poison spell and you don't need anything else. That is why I would always highly recommend that you go ahead and continue to move through like it's nothing. If you're able to use a rage spell on it, cool. But in most cases, try to save your rage spells to keep your queen alive. Even consider bringing the use of invisibility so you don't have to use another rage spell at that specific time. Of course, you can bring in the use of regular wall breakers, as I mentioned, to open up the wall as long as you got some distraction. The main goal of this should be able to continue to create the funnel on one side, which is pretty much your Queen Charge, and on the other side with the use of the Siege Barrack and the King. This should be done in order to make sure that you're able to have very easy pathing for your hybrid through the middle. In this case though, however, the hybrid pathing is very wide. So you do want to try and make sure that you're not having that and making it rather easy as you move your way in. That's how you need to think about it. So being able to use your heal spells to make sure that you are able to provide healing for all the hogs and miners does allow you to continue to move yourself in. You do not want them to split, or else you're going to have a very low chance of getting a 3-star. You want to make sure that you are healing them together, and when you're not going in for something like the Town Hall, you can actually save your Grand Warden ability for at any certain point, such as this. You are able to easily move yourself through without having any issues. You just need to make sure that it's a little bit easier on yourself using a heal spell on the back end, and you'll be good to go. I would always still recommend trying to keep your queen alive for as long as possible, so invisibility is a great spell to bring. Not only that, but you can use the battle blip that provides even more support for something like funneling, where you can remove an Inferno Tower without having to use your Queen Charge there. So a Yeti blimp is a really good choice if you do not have access to the Siege Barrack. However, there are of course other siege machines that are a bit more viable than just the Siege Barrack, as this can work incredibly well. But of course, there are some other options that you may want to consider depending on your availability. One such example is the newest siege machine added, the Flinger. If you have access to this, these type of bases are super easy now. Pretty much the same rules apply with anything, but you now can use the Flinger to remove defensive buildings without being targeted. This basically creates a funnel already on one side of the base. This means you don't need to wait for the siege machine to get value. You can literally go ahead and start your funneling on one side, whether that be with a Yeti and a couple wizards to help create one side of the funnel, and then going ahead and using your Queen Charge and other things like that. But overall, you're using the newest siege, the Flinger, in order to remove something like an Inferno Tower. Island bases are really easy when you remove that Inferno, so using a siege that stays up and has the ability to snipe is really good. In this case though, I would also recommend that you never do this, just don't. Never have your king by the queen, especially when he's taking damage where the healers might switch onto him. So you do need to be very, very careful about those things. You just want to make sure that you've got easy pathing and easy work through. So despite this, unfortunately, the queen didn't go in for the Eagle Artillery. That can be fine, as long as the queen works her way in to remove the enemy CC, you can still have some of your hogs and your miners move through. This is still a very simple path. You want it to be fairly narrow like this, so they're not staying in one area for too long. In this case, allowing yourself to have the Flame Flinger Hog Riders come from it and then start to support your main push should be your main priority. And as long as you're not entering in for the Town Hall with the Queen Charge, you can save that Grand Warren ability for a little bit later on. This is why Hogs and Miners are really strong together. They can stay up, and you could even use a Rage spell if you had no need for it, which can actually be super beneficial when you consider that it can do a lot of work, especially against a Town Hall and underneath a Grand Warren ability. So the Flame Flinger is a great siege machine. If you don't have access to it, don't worry. You can still use a battle blimp on these type of bases, but of course, it is just way better to bring the Flame Flinger now. It is a Queen Charger's best friend, and you will find a lot of use cases from it for a lot of different bases, not just island bases, but this is one great way that you could use this against an island base, as those are fairly common, especially coming up in the Clan War Leagues. Now, outside of the island bases and the anti-3 bases, you've got these sort of anti-2 bases with the Town Hall in the center, but of course, you don't have to really bring the Siege Barrack, the Flame Flinger, or any of those. You can actually bring a Wall Wrecker. The Wall Wrecker is not something I would typically recommend, but it is viable if you don't have access to using a Yeti Blimp either. Pretty much, the goal of your Queen Charge hybrid at this stage with a Wall Wrecker is you're not using the typical Siege Barrack King funnel, you're using an E-Drag to help funnel. So in this case, using the Queen Charge to remove the Eagle Artillery in this case, it was low level, it wouldn't have mattered anyways if it wasn't removed. You want to make sure that you've got a very easy lane for your hybrid to work itself in. So an E-Drag is a really good play to create one side of the funnel, and allowing your king to get in does help included, as it makes it easier now for your hybrid to go through the middle. So if you are dealing with an anti-2 base with the Town Hall smack dab in the center, all you really need to do is let your queen walk on one side, because for the most part, she'll be able to remove anything from that side, and you can send your hybrid straight through the middle to remove the Town Hall. And then having your hogs and your miners and warden move through the middle. This attack kind of can work with no siege. As far as I can tell here, as long as you get enough funneling where you're able to send all your hogs and miners through the middle of the base, which allows you to then remove the enemy or remove the enemy queen and still remove defenses as you're working through, you really don't need a siege machine. You really didn't need it he didn't even need it at all in this case. But using the Wall Wrecker can be good. It removes some defenses and it gets your Hog Riders into the base a little bit easier for more support. Of course, you do have to be very careful of skeleton traps, but the miners do a really good job at getting through with them, so they do provide support for your Hog Riders already. This works incredibly well. So as I've shown you here, you've got different options depending on your availability. A Wall Wrecker if you can't do a Yeti Blimp or any of the other sieges. Of course, the Siege Barrack is really good, and the Flame Flinger only if you can get it. But all of these options will allow you to get a 3-star very consistently with this army. What do you think about hybrid going into 2022? I still think it's going to be rather strong, especially since the Flame Flinger was recently added, so it really provides a lot of good power for all different types of Queen Charge attacks, especially this one. So consider subscribing and ringing the bell. If you did enjoy the video and you did want to see more of my content, then definitely consider subscribing and ringing that bell so you don't miss it. Of course, consider using my creator code CORRUPT. It is a great way to support me, and I do appreciate all the support. And I'll be catching you guys in the next video. Corrupt, signing out.